Within this book, you will find those spells. This is not a spell book. The front of the book is wrong. It may say that this is a book which contains spells, but that is not what has been written. What has been written? Is that the first question of the story? Or was that the second? And that was the third. So every moment of time counts on the last to be there. So when it comes time, it will be there, as time leans forward. If the universe were a pancake, on the very outside of the mass, while being on the inside of the mass, time could make a perfect circle. But very rarely will it ever do over its own. Is that what causes black holes? Like two billiard balls colliding, but burst it with enough energy to burn a hole in the fabric of space. It would be on the outside-most inner space, so even a tiny disruption could be so close that it's perfectly rupturing the fabric and releasing pressure out of the mass. If the pressure on the outside of the mass is less, black hole. If the pressure on the other side of the tear is greater, white hole. If the pressure is equal though, would it be like two separate colored bodies of water sitting next to each other? A discovery of this magnitude can only be discovered on accident, as you would not want to be the reason for the tear. Where would we go up? Would we be then on the outside of the mass? Would we be pushed further inward in the mass, this giant pancake? Would we gain inertia and travel through space until something applies resistance and slows us down? Or would we be forever going back with them? What has this got to do with what is on the front of this book? Could this not explain more than we can know about white holes and black holes? Could we discover more if we simply try this theory? That's all this probably is. A book on a theory of the why of white holes and the why of black holes. Can you see the simplicity? But it's just a theory. A film theory. Courtesy an Object. If this really is a book though, I will have to ask permission to rate that, actually say it. One sec. I'm back. So, what would be a name that would be a better name of what was called 21 chapters before it was called Chapter 1? Actually, it will have to be rewritten for a new name. Now, we are standing on an idea. Can one create, discover, or suggest a one single theory which looks at black holes and white holes as a singularity? One goes one way, one goes one way. This is why varying pressures on either side of the perimeter of the mass cause possibly both masses are not solids, or because possibly both masses are not solids. It's just a story about a theory of things and stuff. And do not panic. Order will be restored when panic ceases, and panic will cease when order restores. Have a theory in mind. What will I do? Will it be positive? Will it be negative? Would it help? Would it hurt? goes with no plan. That is not a plan. If you need to tell someone your plan, tell it to the mirror. Fermi paradox. Where is everybody? The answer to that question is 42. And if it's backwards, 24, which there happens to be 24 hours in a day. One day. So perhaps the answer is, take it one day at a time. Where is everybody? Experiencing today, that is where we are. Wherever we are. Not seeing something does not cease its existence. You missed yesterday, and you are here too early for tomorrow. Come back then. Perfect. But seriously, what if intelligent wife only grows on the outside-most inner part, or outer part of man's, and then they get intelligent enough to create a big enough Oppenheimer that it rips a hole in space, and time comes in, or gets sucked out. The intelligent wife before us may have been sucked in by a black hole. What if that's why we can't find them? They all blew up. You get 42 years of being able to do what you enjoy in life. 42 years after your last birthday as a young person. After those 42 years, you will be getting old. And older. Those that don't do what they like in those years will spend the rest remaining. Wish they had lived just a little more lively. Take this time to reflect on what good you have done or seen. Tell the rest to who you trusted up. I cannot show you the cover of this book, but what I can tell you is that it says magic spells, but clearly there are no magic spells here. Is this only so far, however? Could one call a spellbook not a spellbook, then write something, then creating a spellbook out of the not a spellbook inside of what says it is a spellbook? Is that even a question? Or is that a thought process? An answer, though, which may be the most obvious. This is not 21 chapters, and this for sure is not chapter 1. Those two names are separate, and neither of them are this. If seeing or hearing this book for the first time, let me ask, are you getting ideas, or am I giving ideas? This is all derived from the source. Would you like to disagree, or agree? Is that a question because I wrote a period instead of a question, or is that an answer? If confused, reference the last thought which made sense. An hourglass in space tells what time. Snaps. Now, the verse of poetry. I can show you where to look, but not what to see. Does that spark and memory, to which it was asked, to all who behold, this is what all have been told. A memory in time forgotten still exists in our lost memory of mind. What was your first ever memory? It is the earliest memory which you can remember. If you cannot remember your first memory, one may ask, what are you then? Can you recall 5 minutes ago? Are you able to remember your first memory of the day? Can you remember your dreams? What was the first dream you can remember? What can you never forget? How many times have we all ran from something in our lives? How many times have we run towards something? If we all combined our memories, would it cause war, or would it cause peace? Would everything change, or would nothing change? would we then be able to find what we are looking for? Or would we find that it is extant, or has not existed yet? When was the last time that you stood in front of the mirror? Did you just stare at yourself, as if you were merely a reflection? Or did you talk to yourself with the intent of listening? What would you say if you knew you were truly listening to your own advice? Would you even listen to your own advice, or would you ignore that advice knowing you're said it? I mean not to bedazzle or get you lost in fancy wordplay. The questions are sincere and come from a place of wonderment, knowledge. Only at the end of time will you find the realm of knowledge with no empty shells. From now and until then, the stories are still being written and created in construction of new knowledge. We're all stories in the end. I hope you know what I mean. If anything could be referenced here, minus what the front of this not a magic spellbook is, could we write down? Bad wolf. Would you know what I'm speaking of? Would you catch that historical reference? I've seen you do, or someone does. That is a workable theory. What kind of theory is that? An old thought, core insisted already. What chapter? This chapter begins with a question about the first chapter. What comes before the first chapter? What comes after the last chapter? That was 2 questions about 2 chapters. The third question comes now. What is between the last chapter and first chapter? Are we in that chapter? Or are we in another? These are the questions I ask of you. Where is everybody? Life, your reality may differ. We stumble now into a time with no beginning, a time with no end. When are we? One may ponder. We are here, now. The only way to tell time now is one must first ask themselves, what am I telling time? Would time here in the now responding kind with an answer? Or tell you about a time when one found themselves in a tale beyond or within time itself? Times will tell. Before Christmas, the story. To write this would be to say words. Words are formed using letters. Letters sound like sounds. Words have different sounds. The patterns would not exist if void of any energy, frequency, or vibration. That is what words are. Words are swords, used for peace, used in battle. Choose them with care. I write this now with this in mind. A diffuse thing is still a thing. Let's not forget the pancake theory. The universe is like pancake, but really like a bar balloon.